3, 2, 1. Yes, 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 yes. Another day to get to it. Y'all hear the background, hustling, hustling. And when I say hustling, I mean that in a good way. I mean, no matter what you're doing, you get into it today. I don't care if you're a chiropractor. I don't care if you're an NBA ball player. I don't care if you're a custodian, whatever it is. Get to it. We hustling each and every day. No Bad Days podcast, DJ Truth. It's one of those good days, man. I'm excited. I got a special guest for y'all today. I say every guest is special because it's true. I feel like I only talk to special people in my life. So I got a guest today. And let me bring this down. I got a guest today. I'm gonna give him the proper intro. So y'all are in for a treat. This guy, and I hope he can take claim to this, but he's number one, to me, he's like a hip hop thesaurus. He kind of knows everything. He remembers the moments that most people don't bring up in today's music. Like, hip hop is a big deal to me. If you know me, I'm pretty sure you know me through hip hop. And when I met this guy, I immediately clicked with him because he started talking about hip hop, and he started talking about the old school hip hop that I really grew up on and I really know so much about. So this guy is a hip hop thesaurus. This guy is an innovator. He's one of the most positive people I've ever come across. I've never seen him in a bad mood. I've never even seen him not smiling. He's normally just in a great mood. If you know him, then you know this about him. He's one of my influences. He actually cheers for me and roots me on. He's one of the people that keep me going. Sometimes when you're doing a lot, you need people to cheer for you and push you. So I want to introduce him, Mr. AGTV, the legend, Aaron Garner. What's up, bro?
My man, thank you so much for the kind intro. I hope I can hold up my end of the bargain, but I also wanted to just kind of throw some stuff back at you because I know that this summer was, challenging for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. And you've always had a huge impact on people, but you really were such a leader this summer with your voice, not to mention giving people stuff to do every week. And it was like an extremely, extremely powerful thing because when you've really gotten everything taken away from you socially, and especially social animals like us or people in the industries that we're in, we're so used to being around high energy, and a lot of people have a hard time with that. And you gave those people a place to come together, not to mention, like I said, your voice and other social issues and things going on. And I'm proud to call you friend, man. I'm proud to know you. And it's just a beautiful thing to see you just absolutely blossom with your limitless abilities. And thank you for having me, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. No, thank you. Really, thank you. I kind of took that time personal. It was like, you know what? I got to step up. I got to be there for people. And, people, I do it for just the things you just said. That's the reason I do it. I do it for people who need it, people who respond to it, people who want it. So thank you, man. Thank you.
A lot of people look up to you, and a lot of people follow you for damn good reason, man. So
thank you, man. So, okay. So Aaron Garner, a.k.a. AGTV, and that's the name I call him. That's his forever name from me now. We will get into that. But, Aaron, as we dive in, before we really get started, and since this is really the beginning of my podcast reemergence, I want to talk about what No Bad Days mean to me and kind of explain it to you. And then we'll really dive in. So if you're new to this podcast, No Bad Days, it's a motto that I have, and it does not mean that you cannot have a bad moment in life. We all have bad moments, and bad moments come and bad moments go. But I don't believe we can have a bad day, and I will tell you why. I don't believe that there's a day where there's 24 hours that you're living that you don't think of one positive thing in your mind. I don't believe there's a moment where there's a 24-hour period where you think of 100% negativity. I just don't believe that. It can be a day where you may have broke your ankle and got into a car accident, but you cannot tell me that for 1 millisecond you didn't think of something positive throughout that day. So I say that to say I don't believe that you can actually have a full out bad day. So that's where no bad days come from. It comes from we can have bad moments. We can have bad moments, but we persevere through those moments. And it doesn't mean that our entire day was bad, because even 1 second of a good thought, of a positive thought, no matter what it is, that means you didn't have an entire day. If you give me 24 hours of negativity, I've never seen it, and I've never had it, and I don't believe it can actually happen. And I don't want anyone to prove me wrong on that. So, podcast is really about uplifting, sharing stories, helping people, using my vessel, my voice, and using music to really connect people. Music is what really connects people to each other. It's the language that everyone speaks. It's the one language we all speak, and we all learn so much from each other through music. So, jumping to you, Aaron, AGTV.
I'm with you all the way, man. And again, going back to this summer, just kind of going off what you were just saying, it was just such a great time to like kind of turn into yourself, like truly turn into yourself, because everyone's living situations were different. Mine personally, I was solo, you know, not married, no pets, no anything. It's one of those moments where you look in the mirror and go, wow, these are some parts of my life decisions. You know what I mean? This is the best day. And it was just a time to literally look in the mirror and be like, I'm going to take this thing one day at a time. I'm going to do the best job humanly possible. And I'm going to come out of this thing mentally and physically stronger than I ever dreamed possible. And it definitely happened. But that kind of stuff happens by chipping away at it every single day. And the term being present is thrown around so loosely, but it's truly like the only way to truly be happy is to live in the present, because nothing's ever guaranteed in this world. We all know this. So committing to making, like you said, being an active participant in making your day the best day possible. Every morning in the shower, I literally review the day before from start to finish of every good thing that happened. And the next thing I do is I make a commitment to today. Like, what am I going to do to make today amazing? Like, I have to work 12 hours. So what? Like, you're an active participant in your own happiness. It's a discipline just like anything else. And if you keep doing the right things, they do add up eventually and get you to those places that you want to go. But even the most positive people that we look at in the world and think that it's just so easy for them, sure, it's for some people. Sure, some people are predisposed to being happier than others. I think that I'm honestly one of those lucky people there. But that doesn't mean I don't have to like constantly work at it or mine it, or there aren't days or weeks that I'm stressed out working on it. But I'll tell you what, so that I exercise, I'm going to make sure that I am thankful for yesterday, thankful for today, and then I'm going to manifest some good stuff in my future, and I'm going to keep it moving. I'm going to be around the best people known to man all the time, which I am as well. And you know, I'm with you on that, man.
And that's key. And that's key what you're saying about manifesting the good things into your future. I feel like that's like one of the, and it's not a secret because we talk about it, but you know, sometimes people don't practice it. But manifesting those things, thinking that it will be okay, knowing that it will be okay, knowing that there's moments that happen. My mom would always say when I was younger, she would always say to me, after it rains, what happens? And I remember being a little kid and I say, the sun comes out. And she was like, exactly. So a bad moment can just be the rain. But guess what? When it's done, the sun comes out. You'll be fine. So yeah, that's key, man. Manifesting those moments and that thought.
But also planting those seeds in your head, because I think that a lot of people are just genuinely unkind to themselves and not that gentle on themselves. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of us, I mean, most of us, I think most everybody walking around is trying their best all the time. You know what I mean? Just kind of give yourself a break, love yourself, be kind to yourself. And again, treat it like a discipline. It's not something that necessarily comes naturally to everybody. Like, start writing down 3 things you like about yourself personally every single day. Take those areas that you feel insecure about and find ways to feel better about them. You know, being an active participant in this situation is something that people really need to get a hold of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's taking that step. It's taking that step because sometimes, you know, it's hard to get there. I remember me, the younger version of me. It was really hard for me to get there. I think that in my mind, I wanted to do it, but like you said, I didn't take the action. I just assumed it would happen.
Yeah.
You know, until I decided to take the action. I actually, in 2016, I came and it's not just the idea, but I decided to never have another bad day. No matter what happened, I decided to never have a bad day. And that kind of changed everything for me.
You can tell that you made that conscious decision because you live in a constant flow state. Like you're always in the zone. You're always on to the next. You're doing this podcast, and I guarantee you're thinking of something that you can add to some other project that you're doing. Like
Absolutely,
that
literally.
that perpetual motion is also a key to happiness too. Again, going back to the summer, I would leave my house in the morning and be like, I was living life like a little kid, meeting up with friends, going for walks in the park, being gone for hours, but I was constantly in motion. And I was, guess what? Constantly happy. Again, like you're constantly working on these projects. You're always in a flow state. Like you're always moving forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, it's just key. It's something that I learned, just being where I'm from and how I grew up. If you stay busy, you stay out of trouble, and that was just something I believed growing up. So I always stayed busy. I just started as I got older. I started to I don't know. Something clicked in me to where I said, you know what? I might be quote unquote talented with this or that, but the thing that I really care about is the people. That I really care about people around me. I care about I care about everyone's happiness. You know, and when that clicked in me, just everything changed. Everything changed.
Yeah.
You know, but so what I want to do, AG, I want people to really get to know you.
Sure.
I want people to really get to know you, and in a nutshell, just explain. Just give me your origin. Who are you? Where are you from? What do you do? Just break it down for me.
Sure, man. So I was raised in Wall Lake, Michigan, which is a suburb in Oakland County. Grew up playing tons of sports. I was a mechanic. My mom was a housewife, probably lowerish middle class. Always music from the time that I was a young kid. Always loved sports. Always loved being creative. Back in the day when I was a kid, you get a video camera back in the day was absolute gold. Everybody didn't have one.
Right.
Making like little comedy sketches with my friends and stuff like that was just like the greatest thing in the world to me. Growing up, I, like everyone else on planet Earth, wanted to be a pro athlete. Like I said, I played baseball, football, basketball, love sports. That wasn't in my future. Really wanted to be a teacher, so I ended up going to Eastern. The first week at Eastern, there was an audition for like a live talk show host, and that's what I really have always wanted to do. I mean, anyone
I can see that. I literally can see that,
I love
bro.
TV. I love movies. When I was in fifth grade, my teacher let me write a play that my whole class did, and I kind of never lost the bug of like wanting to create stuff and like have people be in it. So had that show. I started another show at Eastern too, which was called Funk Intelligence, and we got to interview Outkast, George Clinton, P Funk All Stars.
Really?
Find a lot of musicians that came through town, which was super thrilling. Getting back to your question that you had emailed me, one of my favorite albums of all time, real quick, that was Aquemini, which I got before. Now, again, another thing.
Yo, let me cut you up. Do you know?
Yeah.
Do you remember? Do you remember the Source magazine?
Yes, of course.
Do you remember? You remember when they used to rate albums in the magazine by mics?
Oh yeah.
Aquemini was one of the few albums that got 5 mics.
Yes.
Aquemini was one of the few because there wasn't many. I remember there was I believe Reasonable Doubt got 5 mics. I believe what was Nas' first album called? Illmatic. I believe Illmatic got 5 mics. Jumping into the later years, Aquemini was one of the albums that got 5 mics. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Yeah. That was one of my favorite albums too.
And I honestly always wanted to meet famous people growing up. So that was like thrilling to me to just like meet people, especially Outkast. That's Andre 3000 when he was wearing like the leather armbands and stuff. Just peak, yes, if you ask me. I know they ended up selling more albums later on, but that was their peak in my eyes. I had a friend that wrote a film script, and we spent 6 months raising funds. We raised 25 grand and shot a movie in Ypsilanti and Ann Arbor. Again, this is way before Drew Barrymore started shooting movies here and other people movies in Michigan.
Do you still have the footage? Can I get an email of this footage?
That would have been a way better reality show, let me tell you, because it was zoomed and damned from the start. But we ended up sending it off to a bunch of studios. The footage we had, never actually completed it. And I begged my way back into school, started doing a radio show, and started trying to interview like underground hip hop artists. And then the rest is history. I decided, you know what, I probably should graduate. I've been in college for 7 years. So communication degree it was. I started attending. I've done other things. I did some cool sports interviews with Pepsi for a little bit there. But now I work at Orange Theory Fitness. Truly life-changing environment. You know, I really went there because I wanted to change my life and like turn in a healthier direction. And fortunately for me, I was surrounded by you know them all, the greatest group of human beings of all time.
Absolutely.
Like I said, how people became their best selves this summer. I mean, all the people I worked with. I had my friend Christy wrote a book. My friends Andrew and Kat both ran marathons on their own. Licia started a cake company. JD started a hat company.
JD has a hat company?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah.
But I'm just basically saying, like, I ended up in the right spot finally. You know, like you know the feeling too. I'm sure you had a lot of jobs before.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Just like, wow, I'm glad I finally found this direction. I love being around health and wealth, and you know, always just constantly trying to, you know, be the best.
I think everything you went through, or all the places that you've been, they prepared you for the place you're in now, and the place you're in now is preparing you for the next place. You know, so you going through what you went through and shooting a movie, running around, Ipsy shooting a movie that doesn't come out and things like that. All of that is, like, to me, all of that is the training. That's the training. I remember back in the day when I used to run around with my man DJ Jules, and we were in and out of St. Andrews Hall, and we just all over downtown Detroit. And when I look at myself now, even speaking with you now, I gained this confidence from doing things there. Yeah. So it was the training. So yeah, you needed to go through it, man, to continue.
And that's exciting to think too, isn't it?
Yeah, hell yeah. Because you look at now, when you look at now, like, to me, I feel as if life is easier. I understand life more. So certain things I comprehend better, and it's easier now. When I was younger and I was just winging 100% of everything,
yeah,
I probably made it way more tougher than what it was, you know, but I'm glad I went through it. And just hearing your story of just going through all of that, I love it, man. I love it because that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, creating those moments.
Yeah, there were a couple other entrepreneurial efforts thrown in there. Because when I was 19, I was like, I'm never working for anyone ever again. So I started advertising. I would walk around in a suit, didn't even have a car. I'd walk around with a suit and sell this advertising that would go on Papa John's boxes. It was called in-house advertising. So I was definitely like, I think there were kindred spirits in that way. Like, you've always been trying to do your own thing.
Right.
And that's definitely in me, you know?
And I can see it. Even what you said, with you saying, the talk show host, man, you should really bring that back around somehow. I'm telling you, man. That's why I call you AGTV. I love the idea, and the minute you brought it up to me, I could see it, especially with you. So, I mean, I don't know what the future holds for
I
you,
appreciate it. If that's what my future holds, I always said that my dream job would be someone like Charlie Rose, which Charlie commercial end of his career, but basically me at a table talking to actors, authors, politicians, you know, people from different walks of life, one-on-one would be like my ultimate dream, for sure.
So you seem super duper interesting. Tell me something about you that most people wouldn't know, something that would surprise people. Like what? Like, you already just wowed me with all the things you've done, but tell me something that you feel like could wow somebody.
Let's think. I mean, I was once interviewed by the FBI when I was in college. That was pretty.
Wait, what?
So
yeah, it's story time. Story time.
It was after my first year at Eastern. You know, this was during the prank era back in the day, maybe a little bit before your time. Me and my friends would prank each other all the time. So when my mom called me and told me someone from the FBI was looking for me, I was just like, okay, like I paid it no attention.
Somebody just nonchalant. Somebody from the FBI is looking for you, by the way.
Yeah.
And dinner's on the table.
So I ended up finally calling him back, and it was actually the FBI. And this was after my first year at Eastern. And at Eastern, we had like full turntables set up in our room. We built the loft that went over the whole ceiling, and we used to have these parties in this short room with these turntables. And a lot of people came, so whatever. But these FBI agents let us know that there were like these bank robbers that had used our dorm room as an alibi.
What?
That was pretty interesting. I thought that was pretty funny.
So you talked to him on the phone, or you saw
No,
him
I
in
actually
person?
meet him at Taco Bell in Wixom. I was working landscaping, and they
Wait, so wait, the FBI told you to meet him at Taco
Taco
Bell?
Wixom, and they walked out, and the guy had like the traditional FBI suit, and then it was like a female agent. And I looked at like a manila folder, and I literally tried getting him on my show in college. I got their card, which I had back in the day, like when you were trying to interview somebody a lot.
Right.
You know, you'd have to go through like emails, actually calling people. But I was trying to
Right.
get the agents to be on the show, but
Yeah. So how do you? So okay, I don't. I mean, personally, I don't think I've seen an FBI agent. I didn't know. Do they look like the Men in Black? Are they like?
I think that you would know one if you saw one. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, I think it's pretty central casting on that. I think you can become an FBI agent unless you have this certain look. So yeah.
Well, that is beyond interesting. No, I did not see that coming. So yeah, that is something that shocked me. So as you were telling me the story of the things that you were doing in the past, um, compared compared to what you're doing now, did you think you would be where you are now? Did you think this is what you would be doing right now, or
Honestly, I don't know that like specifically what I'm doing would be that necessarily. But from like a personal standpoint, who I am as a person right now, I feel like I'm the person that I'm supposed to be.
hmm,
And I'm not saying that's always been the case. Like I said, we've all have these ebbs and flows in our life and stuff like that. But I feel like you said, I feel like this is the start of like a new chapter and a next chapter in my life as far as like moving forward with dreams and stuff like that and moving on.
mhm.
But I think that I'm the person that I dreamed I'd be.
Okay,
If I lived the life that I dreamed I would live, I'd be directing a film, doing a talk show, like I'd
nice.
be 12 different things like you. So
All
you know what I
right.
mean?
Well, hey, life isn't over, so you just never know. You never know. You just
Or-
never know where it'll take you. What I want you to do, I want you to tell me, because you're always in a good mood, but I want you to tell me about a moment um, that you had to overcome, where it was a bad moment for you. If you don't mind sharing, a moment that you had to overcome and how it helped you, and maybe how it can help someone else if they're going through something somewhat similar.
Yeah, I would say I had some issues with substances back in the day.
Okay.
So I'm not real for like out in the forefront about talking about it that much, but it was something that I grew up knowing as a kid that it was something that I would want to avoid, and you want to not go through these family cycles because you know where they're heading. But sometimes
Right.
forces are super strong, so it had it reared its head in a way that was really affecting my life, and I had some great friends step forward, and I won't name them on here.
Mhm. Okay, I get it.
They know who they are, and I'll say some of my coworkers have literally like they just were the right people at the right time that said the right things, and it's been onward and upward ever since. And it's not that easy, but it's the same as I said before about being happy. It's a day by day thing with everything, all the time,
Right.
everything. Like the biggest illusion is that it's not that. It's always that with everything. So climbing myself out of that hole and like building myself into the person that I consider myself to be now has been awesome, but it didn't happen overnight for sure.
What it so okay, so if someone was in the same situation, right? Some big brother, little brother me right now.
Yeah.
Like if someone was in the same situation and they didn't know what to do or they didn't seek help or anything, what would you recommend?
I mean, that's a really, really tough question, man. And I don't know that I can correctly answer that only because I know that from being in that experience that it really has to be generated from that person,
Okay.
not generated from that person. There's really for that to take place, for true change to be made, it really has to come from that individual. Because you're going to be the only person that's there at night when no one's looking, or wherever you are and no one's looking, and having to continually make those right decisions. So I honestly think that that would probably be my best answer. It'd be like it really has someone has to really truly want that help first,
Understandable. Definitely understandable. Definitely
and
understandable.
put in front of the other themselves. They have to, because everybody that's in that scenario has had people in their lives telling them that they should do this or want to help them or
Right.
want to do that. Most people have a good network of people that are supporting and stuff like that, but until they make that commitment, make that step on their own, it won't happen.
Okay.
You know?
Understandable. Those are words from AG. Those are words, and And for someone who hasn't been in that situation but has had family members very close to me in that situation, what you're saying makes so much sense. It's almost like a breath of fresh air to hear it because, like you said, if you're not in their shoes exactly, and they have to make the step, so totally understand, completely understand, man.
Yep.
Um, now for me, to transition, now for me, music has played a huge part in my life from the moments where I had that were bad to the moments that I had that were great. It's always been like a soundtrack to my life. I want to know, and how has music led you on your way through life? How has music provided the soundtrack for the life of Aaron Garner?
I mean, it's just such an intrinsic part of my life. It's insane. I could literally take you through my entire musical odyssey from group to group. And the first CD I ever put in was like my mom's Beatles album because I wanted to hear the song with a little help from your friends.
Okay.
It was the Wonder Year on the Wonder Year soundtrack, so it goes back to TV always. My first
Okay.
Lethal Injection by Ice Cube.
Ooh, Lethal
So me and my
Injection.
brother, so my love of hip hop, like I said, definitely came from my older brother, who was just like the most major head of all time. He still is.
Okay.
He put me on to everything under the sun. I brought this in to show you too. This is the original Slim Shady EP. Check it out.
Wow. What?
So we were
Can you hold that up one more time? Just hold that up one more time. Wow. Yo, I remember when I bought Eminem's album. So I bought his album on I saw the video for Hi, my name is, and I would walk to the CD store. It wasn't like Sam Goody or something like that. It was just a record store we had in the neighborhood. And I walked up there and I would always buy random albums. And I'm just looking through albums, and I got my little $20 or whatever, and I'm looking through CDs, and I saw that Eminem album, and I was like, this was the video I saw earlier today, and I was like, no, I'll try it out, and completely loved it. It was something I had never heard before, and literally changed my life.
it was an exciting time in music, especially knowing of him and stuff like that. Before my brother had who ended up being my college roommate actually had a underground hip hop show in Farmington Hills and had endless amounts of footage that was used in the documentary series on Netflix.
Okay.
Is it called The History of Hip Hop? I've watched it like 30 times, but
I know what show you're talking about. I can't think of the name
so a
of it.
lot
It's
of people
something like hip hop history or
was
something like
used
that.
in that. And so we were around there. We were at shows. Like you'd go to St. Andrews on a Friday night, there'd be Slum Village would be there. People would be breakdancing. Like it was such a different thing for me to see too, being from Wall Lake and just being like, oh my God, there's all this art, there's all this creativity, there's all this
Right.
energy. Like it's amazing. And I love words and I love hip hop. And I'm, like,
So not to cut you off, but
yeah.
a question. So because I grew up in the inner city, and you say like you grew up in Wall Lake, were there a ton of other kids like you who loved hip hop and really wanted to see it, but you weren't necessarily in the city? Were there a ton, or was it like here and there was you, a couple guys, but not really?
No, I think that most people. I don't think that most people were going to St. Andrews on a Friday night. I don't think that most people were like had their ear to the street trying to learn about Detroit hip hop. I think
Mm.
that was a rare thing. Or
Okay.
being more a part of that underground scene or being more interested in those artists on the come up than, mainstream artists. But I think that people. Sorry,
It's all good.
I
So
think
you
that people. Can you see me?
Nope, your face is gone, but we can still hear you. You can keep
Okay.
talking until you get it together.
Okay.
Um, so
So sorry.
it's all good.
There it is.
Um, but I'll jump in as you're getting together. I'm gonna ask you a question before you jump back to your story, because I heard you say lethal injection, right? Ice
Yeah.
Cube. Who would you, lethal injection or death certificate?
I would have to take a look at the track list.
So to anyone who's listening, Lethal Injection is Ice Cube album. Death Certificate is my favorite Ice Cube album ever, ever, ever. So Lethal Injection or Death Certificate, he would have to take a look. I wouldn't have to take a look because I remember both. I remember both, but I would definitely go Death Certificate. One of my favorite Ice Cube albums ever. There you go, AG. I
If I
see
put
you.
this around, can you see
You're
that?
yeah, you're back.
Is that good?
Yep.
All right, cool. I'll leave it and not touch it. Sorry about that.
No, you're all good. But yeah, so you were telling me about Wall Lake. Was there any other kids like you who who wanted the hip hop experience or listened to it, or I'm sure there were, but
Yeah, it was like it was way more of like a burgeoning thing into like mainstream and stuff like around that time when like right after we graduated from high school, right before Fuji's first album came out, just like a
the
really
score.
so yeah, there were. I mean, hip hop was the cool music of the time for sure. It was the most progressive. It's probably continued to be one of the most artistically invented genres as well. But yes, I mean, it was one of those things where you knew something was happening. Definitely, there was a danger. There was stories. That was just. It was an exceptional time in music.
Okay. So okay, real quick. So you said earlier that through your hip hop experience, Outkast Aquemini was your favorite album of all time. That's number one on your list, right? Nothing higher than Aquemini, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so give me your most memorable hip hop quote. And just for you though, it doesn't have to be the one that everyone would pick. Just a line that you can always think of that comes to you or may mean something to you.
That is tough.
So I interviewed a friend of mine the other day. His name was Brandon, and he said the sample of "Get Money" on Biggie and Junior Mafia. He said that just
Oh, so you're going with just like a musical moment, not necessarily a line or anything.
yeah, just a musical moment, something. Yeah, just it
I,
can.
one musical moment that I can really that stands out to me is just being like one of those exceptional moments in time is me and my brother waiting to get a tape that would coming into Sam Goody or whatever store at the time. Again, back then it wasn't guaranteed to be in. They didn't overstock. It wasn't there. You didn't get it. We bought Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style the night it came. Sat in my room and listened to the album from front to back, which is just an amazing experience. But that was also just like such an exciting time because obviously NWA and Dre had been around, and like his whole like discovering new artists thing kind of started with Snoop, really. And that was definitely a great musical moment.
And it's so many. The crazy thing is that it's so many big moments in hip hop, in the history of hip hop, that helped change me, that just helped mold me. I remember the first time I heard Boys in the Hood from NWA.
Yeah.
I remember finding out that Ice Cube actually wrote that. And I had found this out way before the NWA movie had came out. But
Yeah.
when I was young and I had found out Easy E didn't write it, it actually made me feel a certain way when
Yeah.
I was younger. I was like, wait, he didn't write it? I was kind of sad because at that time Easy E was my guy. I'm like, yo, you have to write this, Easy.
So how do you feel about that in today's world then?
Well, in today's world, because now I after being after creating music and being in rooms and being around artists and being around well-known artists and then being around not well-known artists and just seeing how it works, um, do I mind it? No. Do I? Um, and I will say this, and I defend this all the time because I'm a huge Drake fan.
Yeah.
And I defend Drake because I say this: if you think Drake can't sit down and write an amazing 16, if he just sat in a room with you and you played a beat, if you think that man can't sit down and write an amazing 16, then you got to be crazy.
Yeah.
There's no way. I'm pretty sure he will write a very nice 16 and you would love it. Um, but but can you be the greatest rapper of all time if you didn't write it? No, of course. It's like, can you be the all-time leading NBA scorer if you actually had your brother scoring the points? No, you can't. No, you can't. But do I mind it? I absolutely don't mind it because songwriting is something completely different uh, what, to me, songwriting is just a different technique now than it was before.
Yeah.
So am I opposed to it? No, I don't care now. And at this point in time, no, I don't give a shit who writes what. Put it together, make it sound good, and put it out. Because the world needs it. The world needs it. The moments need it. People need it. You
Yeah.
know, and
It depends on whether or not you're throwing him into the best MC of all time conversation. If that's true, that someone else writes it. If not, again, you're right. Who cares? But if I think that you're disqualified from being in the conversation if you don't write.
I agree. I agree. I agree. Completely agree. Yeah, you're
That,
disqualified. You're disqualified from that conversation. But what I do say, the one thing that I do say about it that no one ever looks at, no one ever looks at this. Most of the time when someone else has a writer, right? They just gave an opportunity to someone else to feed their family. Let's just say, I don't know, let's just say I'm an artist and I'm big and I got my boy who hasn't done anything, but he needs to make money too. You know what? Let's team up. You write it, I'm going to say it. Now I'm putting it out. I get paid and I can pay you. And now all of a sudden I'm giving someone else an opportunity that can
yeah.
possibly change their life. So, I might look at it way too deep, but I look at it like, yo, you helping just someone else. Someone else is helping you. That's how the world works.
Yeah.
So
I guess in the grand scheme of things, you're right. It doesn't matter. But like, if you're a hip hop purist, for sure, if you were talking like greatest MCs of all time,
this isn't on my list. Who's the greatest? Who? Give me your top three. Top three greatest MCs of all time. Or
just great.
No, your favorite. Your favorite three. Because I don't ever want. I always just want your personal opinion.
Man, I mean, that is incredibly hard because
You
like
gotta answer it. Don't
me,
you can't
you
play
answer
that
my.
card.
I don't think that anyone's a better MC than Jay-Z. I don't
Okay.
think that anyone's more hip hop than Nas. I don't think that anyone's more entertaining or just like skilled than Biggie. And I also am a huge Eminem fan. I think that he's in that, Mount Rushmore in my eyes too. And then I also love, Andre 3000 and a million other rappers. But those guys would definitely be in my like top 3 and 4 for sure.
If you put Jay-Z, Eminem, Biggie, and Nas in a cipher, 16 bars, who has the best verse?
I mean, I'd be hard pressed to take anyone against Biggie just because he was such a prodigious talent. I mean, even at such a young age. I mean, one of my favorite bits of footage is him on that stoop, freestyling around there. I mean, he was just a genius, like a melodic genius, just
Absolutely.
syntax, cadence, like cool factor, like live the life. Like I would be hard pressed to bet against Biggie, honestly, all things being equal.
I'm gonna go in that cipher. I'm gonna go Jay-Z. I'm gonna go Jay in that cipher. 97, 98 Jay-Z. I'm gonna go in that cipher. The
I was just
way
at Jay-Z last night.
you were what?
Just listening to that version of Jay-Z last night, and I was like, got it, Jay-Z.
Man, it was crazy. My first interaction with Jay-Z was after Reasonable Doubt. My favorite Jay-Z album is actually In My Lifetime Volume 1. Which was his album after Reasonable Doubt. But my first taste of Jay-Z was, he said a line. This is when I started to pay attention. He said, if I shoot you, I'm brainless. But if I shoot you, I'm brainless. But if you shoot me, you famous.
Yeah.
What's it gonna do? I'm like, my mind was blown from just those 2 bars.
I mean, he's a true genius in every sense of the word. I mean, business wise, lyric wise, music wise. I mean, Jay-Z again, it'd be hard to bet against him either. Because
Yes.
Jay-Z flipped every style that there possibly is, and he's probably not done.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I don't think he will ever retire. I think he would just kind of like Snoop. I don't think Snoop will ever just stop. He's so
But has Snoop had a relevant song in like a while? He may have.
the most relevant song, I don't know. It's been a while since he's had a relevant song. Um
But look at the careers that these guys have had. Like,
Absolutely.
freaking believable, because if you really think about it from like a hip hop standpoint, people hate on older artists, but in reality, it's like the most amazing thing ever, because they're
Yeah.
they're eating off their old music. They're still making new music. They have fans, but like it's amazing to see that a lot of these guys have had 30-year careers, 20-year careers. Like LL's career has probably been like 45 years. I mean, he's probably the most underrated artist of all time. Because let's face it, he was a damn good rapper in his time.
I was never a LL Cool J fan, even though I was out. Of course, I was after the LL era.
Yeah,
I only got to see, the mid '90s, late '90s LL. I really didn't get to witness the I'm Bad LL or the Kango Hat LL. So I
but
was never a LL fan. And then when Cannabis came out and he dropped Second Round Knockout, that just made me hate LL even more. I'm like, oh yeah, get him, Cannabis,
really,
get him. Oh yeah,
yeah.
to this day, till this day, even though LL responded with I forgot, I think it was called like Jack the Rapper, Jack the Ripper or something. He responded. To this day, no one can tell me that Cannabis lost that battle. People always bring up, but LL still had the better career and Cannabis never blew up. I don't care. In that moment, that was his game winning shot for me, and I was good with that.
Yeah, I mean, I never truly understood how Ether was such a death blow too.
So,
As far as his songs go,
you said Ether?
yeah, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? I never really understood how that was considered like him beating Jay-Z. Like,
I don't. So because people wanted Jay Z to lose that battle, and me and you are kind of on the same wavelength with this because I argue with people all the time. To me, um, what was the song Jay Z had? Kanye produced it. I can't think of the name. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. Well, the song Ether was a response to Jay Z's song.
yeah,
I can't think of the name, but Jay Z dissed Mobb Deep. He dissed Nas. Well, I can't think of the name of the song, but
but I mean, people were
it's
definitely
called the Takeover. Takeover.
rooting for Nas to come back, because Nas's story is one of the most amazing of all time. Think about the art that he created as a 19-year-old that will live forever. I mean,
Oh,
that would be a tough thing to back up, but his career's been great. If you ask me, I'm a huge Nas fan, and actually, the album that he had this summer was amazing.
oh yeah. So believe it or not, I didn't check it out. I did not check it out. Um, I just never, for whatever reason, I just
The
never
whole
listened to it.
Hit Boy. So it was like a marriage of like a newer producer and him, and it actually works, because a lot of that time that stuff doesn't work. But I really like
Right.
great album.
Huh. I will check it out because there's a whole list of albums that I still haven't just dove in and took the
Yeah.
time to listen to it. It's a little harder now in today. I don't know what has happened to our brains or whatever, but it's just a little hard to take in albums and things like that and constantly repeat them because
Yeah.
I don't think that they're not as good. I don't believe that. I believe it's something with us because I
Oh,
don't believe.
things instantly at your disposal. Like, you could go to a record store 10 times in my day and not get the album you're looking for, or you'd have to drive all over the place to try to find it.
Right.
Now,
True.
instant. Yeah. I mean, again, what's better, what's worse? I don't know. I think it's pretty freaking exciting to like actually have to and like you mentioned, like when Eminem's album first came out, when those videos came on MTV, it was amazing. There was no DVR. Like, you had to be sitting
You have to be sitting
through it,
right there.
or and we learned all of our news through buying, double XL in the source and all those,
Exactly.
learning about unsigned hype and all these artists on the come up. Like, I love all of it. I really do.
So to you, what was the best music era? What was that era for you?
The 90s are pretty freaking amazing. I mean, would I consider the 90s the best era of music? Like, does that music have staying power? Because I was thinking when you were talking about LL, I don't know that his music has any staying power, but he's had an amazing career.
Right.
But if I had to stand on anything, I would have to probably go just straight through the 90s, just because so many amazing hip hop artists, rock artists. It was some diverse eras in there where different genres of music were breaking through as well. I think that overall, if I had to pick an era, it'd probably be the '90s. Because if you pick the '70s, there's no hip hop. There's
Right.
there's other things. So I think the '90s were just killer with just icon artists. Like
Okay.
true iconic artists.
So when you say 90s, because there's different moments in the 90s. So let's just say you go East Coast, you got the Wu-Tang movement in the
Oh
90s. You go West Coast, you got Snoop and Dog Pound movement. You
yeah,
go well, basically you just go East and West. You didn't really down south. You had Luke. It was
this that came out in like what '90s?
Twista came out in the mid 90s. He was Chicago, so that was Midwest. That was mid to late night. Well, that was mid to late 90s. I would say like maybe 96, 95, 96. Cause Twista came from the didn't he come from the group Po Pimp?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he came from the group Po Pimp. Matter of fact, I know he did. He came from the group Po Pimp, and they had the song Do You Want to Ride? And that had to be around 96, 97-ish, something like that.
Dude, when Kanye was on the come up, it was also one of those kind of things that you knew if you were really into hip hop, like, oh, this artist, because back in the day, you used to have a story. You had to have some kind of story, and his story that was that he survived the car crash. Like, he wasn't a really hype like mainstream artist by any stretch of the imagination. He was just kind of an underground quote unquote artist.
Yeah, I think what really happened though, I think what really happened, him hooking up with Rockefeller and Jay-Z at that time when basically he crewed up because
Yeah,
that's when crews was really becoming popular and crews were making a lot of club records. So that's when Jay-Z had Freeway, he had Benny Siegel, he had Memphis Bleak, he had the Young Guns, and Kanye was the hot producer.
yeah,
Um, Supplying most of the music for him. So I think his come up on his come up was it just got enhanced on top of him being who he is, how strong his personality is, how entertaining he is. He was just in the right spot to be for what he needed to do. And
absolutely. He did himself like crazy. Talk about the power of like manifesting things. I mean, he believed in himself as being the biggest artist in the world at that point in time, which
oh
I
yeah,
know.
even to this moment. Okay, so just getting to really know you and your hip hop history. Were you deep into the Detroit hip hop scene?
Oh, I mean, definitely. So Slum Village, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Volume 2, Slum Village, Fat Cat, Elzai. I mean, there's been some crazy good rappers that have come out of Detroit, never made it.
Man,
There's a really solid scene in Pontiac and Ann Arbor, Subterraneous, One Man Army, Athletic Mike League. I mean, there were hip hop events locally here in like Washtenaw County area all the time on a weekly basis. You'd see you'd see battles on a regular basis. Battles back then were a little different. I'm definitely way more partial to how battles were done back in the day with the beat. Like,
right.
not the kind of like the. I mean, everything evolves. Whatever, like the pre-planned. You know who you're going up against, and kind of write a soliloquy. It's more. It's just a different version of it for me. So I kind of like the old school version of that, but yeah, I was going to hip hop shows all the time. Def Jux was huge back then with LP, who's now in Run the Jewels. So it's great to see like artists like that were grinding back in the day in New York, around my same age, that are blowing up in the last 5-10 years and having long careers and stuff like that. So, I mean, underground hip hop movement in Michigan is real solid. I don't know how it is now, but it was definitely like be a part of and witness like the rise of all these great artists.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I got to witness and be around a lot of it. Just through my man Jules, who was more of a mentor to me, but he was in the scene and I was like the little kid running around with him everywhere. So I got to be in a lot of rooms and meet a lot of amazing artists and just and develop relationships that I still have to this day. When I see them, it's just, it's what's up, truth or whatever. But yeah, I've seen some amazing things, bro.
One at the Blind Pig, D12 at the Blind Pig.
Uh-huh.
Saw she met Proof and like Royce the 5'9" and Trick. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I was there. But Blind Pig, believe it or not, had an amazing hip hop scene going on for quite a few years.
Mm-hmm.
Up
Yo,
close.
yeah, man. The whole Detroit scene, I'm glad I don't want to say it was overlooked or it was exactly what it was supposed to be. It needed to be the way it was because um, we got a lot of good people out of that scene. We got a lot of talented artists out of that scene. And I don't necessarily think that, um, I don't think it should blow up technically, blow up like mainstream. I don't think that's, I mean, of course, the goal, people want to feed their families and be praised for what they do, of course, but I don't think it was just meant to blow up. I think it was more for your soul, if
Yeah.
anything. It's
Yeah.
for people like you and I to still have discussions about it, especially about people that some people we've never met or come
Yeah.
in contact with. It's exactly for that.
Yeah, man. I thought about that earlier as like a consolation prize for like artists, that are frustrated that they never made it or anything like that. Like that kind of stuff would be amazing, but it's so, it's like winning the lottery. There's a lot of things that go into it. But if you're
Right.
an artist that's made content, there's people that you're part of the soundtrack of their lives. There's underground artists that never did anything that I still listen to their music still to this day.
Absolutely.
Definitely shaped my life and part of my soundtrack of my life. So just making stuff is cool. Like everything in the world doesn't have to blow up and become huge. And the Detroit MC is just like a different animal. Like I honestly don't think I would ever praise Big Sean for being from Detroit. You know what I mean? As far as like his syntax, cadence, and his
Hmm.
flow and delivery and all that stuff. But there is definitely a distinct rap style from Detroit.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Punchline,
Right.
but
So,
great.
so um before we transition and get and wrap it up, because we coming up to an hour. Before we wrap it up, I mentioned it earlier, but I want to bring it back and just let you talk about it for a minute.
Yeah.
AGTV, AGTV. It was an idea you shot to me. I just want you to explain the idea, or just or whatever it is, because you're forever AGTV to me.
Right.
It's deeper than the idea to you. For me, it's like, yo, that's you now, AGTV.
I mean, honestly, it just comes from something that you could probably understand too. It's just like a compulsion to create. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I always constantly have to be like working something. I'm around a lot of funny and like talented people that have a lot of passions. So it was cool to have people like the hockey coach at Michigan had a cooking show on there. Like it's really fun to see like these people do their thing that they're good at. It's like providing a platform for people that don't want to put themselves out there. You know what I mean? We'll be like, hey, I'll put you out there.
Right. Almost. It was almost like a sketch show.
Yeah.
Almost like a sketch. I love it, man.
Yeah. So I mean that's like I said, one of the shows that we had when we were in college was we did like sketch comedy, and then we would do interviews with whatever artists that were coming into town. And I've always had a ton of fun doing that kind of stuff. And like again, like I said, you could probably agree, like I just want to be making stuff or something all the time. When I'm bored, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, well, because the world, number one, the world needs it. Number two, it's your peace, it's your sanctuary, it's what you love to do. So you would do it whether you got paid a penny or $1 million. You would do it. So
I continually continue to do it without getting paid. So yeah, it is definitely pure joy. And I'm still enamored by like everything. Like I never take for granted the fact that my camera can do video editing. I can add sound. I can do all these things that, when I was at Eastern, you'd have to go do graphic design on one computer, teach yourself how to do Photoshop. Like
right.
thing is at your disposal here, and the quality of like the pictures and the camera and stuff like that, it's just phenomenal. So it's a great time to be alive with creativity. And I know people have their leans on social media and all this kind of stuff, but I think it can be an amazingly positive thing, and I'm sure you probably feel the same way. Of course it can be negative, but
Hmm.
I think it's just like an endless art piece that you can just make cool stuff and share cool places, and I really like it. So I think that, I really dig when people do their own little cooking shows and stuff online and just kind of make stuff. I feel like people are making more stuff now, especially since the pandemic, just out of pure boredom in the same way. But it's really cool to see.
Yeah, people have jumped in their creative bag. I love it. I absolutely love it. I love to see the entrepreneurial spirit of everyone, and not just that. I just love to see that people like to do things. People are so interesting, and we get to see it. So I love it. I don't hate on it one bit at all, brother.
Love it. I literally like love seeing people's art. Like this girl earlier shot like a drone video of me and another friend running, and she said she had a vision, and I was just so excited because I was like, I want to see somebody else's vision besides my own. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like I love seeing friends of mine like be creative. It's so fun for me.
Well, I love it, man. I love it, man. Any last closing marks before we get out of here, man?
No more. I'd just like to say thanks for having me, man. And you know, I have the utmost respect for you and faith in you. And I can't wait to see what you do. And I really appreciate you having me on. I know you have a lot of awesome people around you at all times. So take it as an honor and high praise, my friend. Hopefully it was semi-entertaining. And, you know, hopefully I'll see you soon, man. Miss you. And again, thanks for everything that you did this summer with everybody. Can't say that enough because it was so real. Like, it's one thing to look back on it. And as we, you know, move into the future and get gaslit about this thing never happening, it's nice to remember that, like, you know, we were forced to look in the mirror and look to each other and really become like stronger, better versions of ourselves. And you were just a huge part of that for so many people. And that's the God's honest truth, man. So keep doing good work, my friend.
Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate your words. Thank you again. Thanks for jumping on my show, man. I'm excited. I'm excited. Keep up your good work. Keep sharing the positivity, man. And I'm always here if you need me.
Always up.
We are out of here. Once again, I want to say thank you guys for listening, checking us out. My man AGTV, a.k.a. Aaron Garner. No Bad Days podcast, DJ Truth. Go Bucks. Peace out, AG.
See you, my friend.